You are not weak for being sad about that job. This is for Black women in toxic jobs. This is Dr. Kamani, licensed clinical psychologist. And I wanted to have this conversation because sometimes we might be confused about feelings of sadness. We might understand the feelings of anger and might even struggle with feeling the feelings of anger because it's Black women, the stereotype about the angry Black woman. So we're very cautious of expressing that, but there might be a point where we are not even acknowledging how we're feeling. So there might be a disconnect in terms of how we're really feeling because of concerns of how others might perceive us. So I'm not telling anybody to go out here and go off at people in the workplace. However, what I'm saying is that it's very important for us to be connected to our emotions, because when you're connected to your emotions are telling you there's something wrong, and they're asking you, hey, lean in, sis, there's something going on. So please be mindful of paying attention to how you are really feeling. You may not want to express how you're feeling in the workplace. However, my hope is that you do find safe spaces for you to be able to talk about this. So I wanted to have a conversation because, again, we may understand the feelings of anger that we have, and we have every right to be angry when people have disrespected us or harmed us. But the feelings of sadness might be a little confusing for us, and it might be difficult for us to acknowledge that we're experiencing sadness because we might equate that to, oh, I'm weak, or am I weak because I'm experiencing sadness in relation to the toxic job. So I first want to say, I just want to validate you if you're experiencing sadness about the toxic job, because when we think about anger, underneath the anger many times is profound sadness. So you may be experiencing profound sadness about what has happened at your job. You may be experiencing profound sadness because you might love the work or the things that you're doing, or even your coworkers or the people you work with in terms of clients. You may love that part of it, but be very sad about what has happened at your job, to the point where it's making you dread going to your job. So you might love certain parts of it, but the sadness of this toxic situation is tainting the love that you have for the work. So that might be underneath it. So I remember I saw a quote somewhere, and it said that a woman was grieving, and underneath the anger was profound sadness, was grieving. So I invite you to think about, if you're experiencing sadness at the job, again, allow yourself space to acknowledge that that is how you are feeling, and get the support you need in terms of processing that sadness. We don't want that sadness to just sit within you, or that anger to just sit within you and fester, because that's not healthy. So what happens is that it can be turned inward, and you can start have feelings of depression, and or it might be spewing out in other areas of your life. So you might be going off on certain people in your life, and they have nothing to do with the job. So that sense of agitation, because you're holding in so much emotion. And I recently saw a video that was really, really good, from Alicia Renice, and she said, the title of the video was, "You're brokenhearted, not broken. Love notes for healing heartbreak." So I know you're like, wait a minute, how does heartbreak relate to a job? It can, because think about how much time you spend at a job. Think about how much it took you to get the job. And think about, as Black women, how we have many times been socially programmed about getting the education, getting all these different things so we can get a good job. So in some ways, a job might be part of your identity, and it may be something that you've thought about for a long time in terms of your profession and working towards that. So now it's a sense of heartbreak, because it's like the dream that you may have had, or the dreams that you may have had about your career, your profession, your future in that profession, may be distorted because you've had these negative experiences, and it can kind of take away the love that you have for the work. So that's the heartbreak. And so again, it's okay to acknowledge that you're experiencing the heartbreak and the sadness. Again, don't share that with the people at the job, okay? So I just wanted to take a moment to talk about a few things that might be helpful for you in terms of dealing with that sadness. So again, I talked about pausing and connecting to the emotion and validate. When you look around what has happened to you, if you journal about it, if you talk about it with other people, if you have documentation, shout out to Anne Marie Archer, the anti-HR lady, who stresses you need to have documentation about what's happening at toxic jobs. If you just re-review that documentation, you will see all the things that have happened to you that have made you feel that way. So it's very much justified. So how do you engage in behaviors to self-validate what has happened to you? So you have every right to feel what you're feeling. The other thing is to recognize that you need to be able to connect to your emotion so that you can start the healing process. So, as I said before, when we don't allow ourselves to connect to the emotion, what we might do is it might just go underground. It might go underground, but show up in other ways. And or we might engage in behaviors to try to help ourselves feel better in the short term, but it's just a band-aid. So it might be self-medicating behavior. So it might be drinking a little bit too much wine at dinner, or feeling the need to go drink every day after work. It might be shopping too much. So your credit card is maxed out, or you're just buying all these different things to help yourself feel better in terms of because you look good. But again, that's self medicating and it's not looking at the root of the problem. So the hope is that you can connect to the root of what is causing you sadness and then address that. Okay. The other thing is when we think about the sadness underneath it, it might trigger other things, other heartbreaks that you've had in your life. So I've talked before in terms of sometimes a work situation, particularly a toxic work situation, can remind you of other traumas in your life. So the dynamics might be similar. There might be something going on that reminds you of other very painful things in your life that caused you heartbreak. And so when you think about that, combined with a job, that can cause the profound sadness. So my hope is that once you're connected to your emotion, once you're realizing, hey, I'm not doing okay, I'm not feeling okay, that you get the support that you need as soon as possible. The support that you need is not uh, gossiping with your coworkers, venting with your coworkers. That's not it. Okay. And I'm gonna do a video about that too, in terms of if coworkers at your job are really your friends. I have some thoughts about that. So I'll do a separate video about that. I know that other Black women have talked about this on YouTube as well. But when you think about getting that support in a safe space, the invitation is to think about who do you know around you who you can really trust. So check your circle. Make sure the people in your circle are people you can truly trust and tell them how you're feeling. It also may be beneficial to go to therapy if you're not already in therapy. If you are in therapy, please connect to and talk to your therapist about the sadness, the anger, any other emotions that you might be experiencing at that toxic job. So again, so you can start releasing that. So you can start the healing process. The healing process takes a while. And, I have a perspective, other people have different perspectives about healing. My perspective in terms of healing and toxic jobs is that it's very hard to really, really heal if you're in an environment that's continuing to harm you. So every day you have to kind of go in with this psychological armoring to kind of get ready, to protect yourself from the beatdown. So I wanted to offer you these tips in terms of validating, connecting to your emotion. Don't deny and don't judge yourself for feeling the emotion. The emotion is telling you something. The emotion is saying, hey sis, there's something going on. Lean into that, explore that, get the support that you might need with trusted other people and or therapy. Okay. So I want to talk to you about that and just say again, if you start self-judging yourself and say, oh, I'm weak, or I'm not gonna let this job, make me feel like I'm weak, or I'm gonna show them. If you start getting into that mindset, you're going to lose. Okay, it's a battle that you're going to lose. So just be mindful of that and just know it's not worth the fight because the game is rigged. You will not win. You will not win. You will be harmed in the process, and maybe those close to you might be harmed too because they're seeing you getting attacked and they're seeing you fight and they see you, putting so much energy into the fight that might take away from your other relationships. And I, invite you to think about, is it worth it? And I hope that you come to the conclusion that it's not. It's not, that you have other options. Okay. So I'm signing off. Please give this video a thumbs up. If you're in the situation and you are struggling with, am I weak? What's going on? How do I get out of here? Again, I absolutely would suggest therapy. In addition to therapy, you might need some help in relation to the specific steps that you need to go through and take to get out of the toxic job. And if you are there, then you can contact me. You can click the link in the description section to schedule a discovery call. You get on my calendar. So again, this is for Black women who are ready to leave, but they are stuck. This is not for Black women who are in a toxic job and they're saying, no, 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 I want to stick it out, or I just want to make it, or can you just tell me how I could just stick it out? That's not what I am talking about. And I'm not trying to convince anyone. If you want to stick it out, okay? I'm talking specifically to those Black women who are in a toxic job. They have recognized that this toxic job is harming them. They have recognized and they know that there's something better out there for them, that they have many options. However, they're stuck and they need somebody to help them in that process of leaving. So if that is you, then click the description in the description section, the link, get on my calendar and we can talk. Okay. So I'm signing off. Again, give this video a thumbs up. Also subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so, and share this video with at least one other Black woman, because if you know a Black woman, more than likely she's in a toxic job. Okay. So I'm signing off and I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye-bye.